Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, titled The Status Quo, chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna, verse 28. Kumaram dashrayam shreshtam prekshanyam brajokshamam rudani vahasan mugdha balasingha balokana. Kaumaram darshayam shreshtam prekshanyam brajakshamam rudani vahasan mugdha malasingha balokana. Word by word meaning. Kaumaram, just suitable to childhood. Darshayan, while showing. Chestam, activities. Prekshanyam, worthy to be seen. Brajakshamam, by the inhabitants of the land of Vrindavan. Rudan, crying. Iva, just like. Hasan, laughing. Mugdha, struck with wonder. Balashimha, lion cub. Avalokana, looking like that. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the Lord displayed his activities just suitable for childhood, he was visible only to the residents of Vrindavan. Sometimes he would cry and sometimes laugh, just like a child. And while so doing, he would appear like a lion cub. Purport by His Divine Grace. If anyone wants to enjoy the childhood pastimes of the Lord, then he has to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Raja, like Nanda, Upananda, and other parental inhabitants. A child may insist on having something and cry like anything to get it, disturbing the whole neighborhood, and then immediately after achieving the desired thing, he laughs. Such crying and laughing is enjoyable to the parents and elderly members of the family. So the Lord would simultaneously cry and laugh in this way and merge his devotees, parents, in the humor of transcendental pleasure. These incidents are enjoyable only by the residents of Raja, like Nanda Maharaj, and not by the impersonalist worshippers of Brahman or Paramatma. Sometimes, when attacked in the forest by demons, Krishna would appear struck with wonder, but he looked on them like a cub of a lion and killed them. His childhood past companions would also be struck with wonder, and when they came back home, they would narrate the story to their parents, and everyone would appreciate the qualities of their Krishna. Child Krishna did not belong only to his parents, Nanda and Yashoda. He was the son of all the elderly inhabitants of Vrindavan and the friend of all contemporary boys and girls. Everyone loved Krishna. He was the life and soul of everyone, including the animals, the cows, and the calves. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Sabadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakha Vitamsha. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदायुनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak on this very auspicious day and speak about this very, very powerful verse where Uddhav ji is remembering the pastimes of Krishna. In the beginning of this chapter, it started with Sukadev Goswami, and by the 6th verse, Uddhav ji, he's starting to remember. And as you know, Uddhav ji is actually a fan of Krishna. So generally when somebody is a fan of someone, he remembers, he thinks, he meditates, and that's the reason why remembering is a very important thing in our process of bhakti. And Prahlad Maharaj, he says in Srimad Bhagavatam about how the remembering is the beginning, and after you remember, you start hearing, and then after hearing, you do Vishnu Shravanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So that means these three things, the remembrance and hearing and Vishnu Smaranam, are very related to each other. And in this verse, Uddhav ji, who is a fan of Krishna, right from the childhood, he is thinking about Krishna. He is missing breakfast, lunch in remembrance of Krishna. And here he is remembering one specific attribute of Krishna as to what Krishna did at the time when he was a Kaumara. That means he was a little boy, somewhere where it is less than 15 years, the kind of activities they end up doing. And here, there are three things Uddhav ji is saying. First, at the age of the childhood, when he used to look at the demons, he used to look at them like a lion cub. He used to look in their eyes, and that the looking of Krishna's eyes into the eyes of the demon would transcend them to so much of fear that they would die with little activities, and we'll slightly speak on that. And then here Uddhav ji is also mentioning that Krishna was the life and soul of Vrindavan. He was not the child of Yashoda and Nanda Baba. He was the child of everyone. Krishna Balram, through their pastimes, carried the heart of everyone. So when we reflect on these verses and purport, one thing we should recognize that these childhood pastimes, these rasas, there are 5 rasas in bhakti, right? You have the Shantaras, you have the Dasyaras, you have the Sakhyaras, and you have the Vatsalyaras, and then you have the Madhuryaras. Of these 5 rasas, the Vatsalyaras is very profound. And Prabhupada is saying this Vatsalyaras cannot be understood by the impersonalist or the worshippers of Brahman and Paramatma. And that is why bhakti is so supreme, that we could enter into the pastime and then feel as if Krishna is around us. So some of our acharyas have said, whenever we have idle mind, we should be thinking about the Supreme. Whenever we have an empty glass or a glass which is not fully filled, you can add something which can be a poison. But if the glass is full, we can't add anything which can mess with us. That's why if our mind is empty, we have 4 days of long vacation coming up with the Thanksgiving, where everybody will get some time. Whenever we have an empty mind, we should always be remembering Because when Krishna is remembered, Krishna is alongside us. That's why some of our acharyas, when they have commented, when they get into deep remembrance of Krishna, they think Krishna is among them. Krishna has never left them, like his divine grace. He will say that Krishna is always there with him in every step of the way, and he has never left them. So this pastime of remembering Krishna's activities, and that too specifically at the stage when he was a Kumara, when he was less than 15 years. It's very interesting, and that is where we dwell on the capabilities and qualities of Krishna and Balaram, and we can derive pleasure. So when Krishna was, less than 3 years and 4 months, Nanda Baba and Yashoda Mai, they stayed in Gokul. And after 3 years and 4 months, they moved to the western side of Yamuna, which is also known as Chatikara or Vrindavan. And there they stayed for 3 years and 4 months. And when it was 6 years and 8 months, Nanda Baba moved to a place called Dig, and then they moved to Kamyavan, and eventually they settled down in Nandagram. So in these, 12 years, Krishna exhibited a lot of very, very sweet pastimes. And Krishna, he can be fearful of Mother Yashoda, but when he was looking in the eyes of the demon, he was like a cub. He was like a lion cub. So the question becomes, Krishna, who is ferocious to the demons, how can he be captured by the love of Mother Yashoda? But that's a slightly different topic. So moving on to this topic of verse 28, and when he is attacked in the forest by demons, Krishna would appear struck with wonder, and he looked on them like the cub of a lion and killed them. And child Krishna did not belong to his parents, Nanda Baba or Yashoda Mai. He was the child of everyone. Everyone, all the gopas and gopis, they would like to serve. In the beginning, if they're cooking something, they're worried as to why is Krishna not knocking our door for this nice offering I'm trying to make at them. But once Krishna comes and troubles them, they would complain to Mother Yashoda. So you see, there is that alternating feeling where they would be yearning to serve Krishna, and why, and their inquiries are always there for Krishna as to why Krishna is not troubling them. And after Krishna troubled them, they complain. And this goes on every day and night. And this sweetness can only be considered by the devotees, and that's where Krishna says, Manmana mad bhakto madhyajima namaskuru mahavai visasi satyam te paritijani priyosime. So he's just saying there are 4 things we have to do in this verse. He's saying, just think of me, which we are trying to do now in this verse of remembering Krishna. And the second is, become my devotees. We're just attempting to become his devotee. And the third thing is, he's saying, worship me, which we all are doing in our capacity. And then the fourth thing is saying, pay obeisances or bow down unto me. So this is a very simple process. And Krishna is saying, if you do this, I'll be your friend. And that is where this Komara aspect of our life is so important. That's where Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Komaram acharate prajno dharman bhagavate iha. That means, when you are Komara, when at that time, if the thinking or the remembrance of Krishna is inculcated, it stays with you. But if you don't do that at the age of Komara, it's very difficult to really pick it up. And that's where he says, this is, 7th canto, 6th chapter, 1st verse. Komaram acharate prakyo dharman bhagavate iha durlabham manusam janma tadapi adhuram atharam. That means this life is durlabha. And in this durlabha life, if we don't think of Krishna, then what did you do? And this is very temporary. So we have to inculcate this in our childhood, and because we do not appreciate the aspect of this loving exchanges Krishna had when he was a child, that means we have not appreciated the child in us. And if we haven't appreciated child in us, that's the reason why there is a lot of challenges now between parents and childs. That's why when Prabhupada was there, Prabhupada was very critical about this, this Gopi club. At the time people end up doing in LA, and it is mentioned by our acharyas. But Prabhupada was very, very critical about it, because Krishna can choose to reveal himself in various different forms by trying to sort of judge that Gopi Bhav is the topmost Bhav, and that is what we all end up should be doing. He was not very happy. So the point is this Komara pastime, because this Vatsalya Ras, what we're talking about today, is so important. It is just not the fact that when we are doing devotional service, one kind of service is higher than others. As far as Krishna is concerned, who is at a very topmost position, for him, doing anything for him is very important. Whether you're cleaning the temple, whether you're distributing prasad, and that is no less than doing shringar of the deities. It should not be misconstrued in anybody's mind that doing one kind of service is higher than doing some other. That's the reason why all these rasas, these 5 rasas we just spoke about, is so important in our life. And Krishna can choose to reveal himself the way he wants. So if we shut our door by saying that you can only reveal himself as a Gopa boy, and I would end up doing the Gopi Bhav with you, with the pastime with Gopas and Gopis going into a Ras dance and something like that, the esoteric, we are basically shutting our door to the little Krishna who is waiting for us in some form or shape. So that's the reason why it's very sahajias. It's very easy for us to associate it with one aspect of Krishna, when Krishna is 360 degrees. Krishna is multidimensional. So Komara pastime, which exhibits the relationship between Krishna and his devotees through his childhood pastimes, cannot be undermined. And we have to be very careful in not judging that this aspect of Krishna is higher than others, and this aspect of Krishna is lower than the Gopi Bhav. So and Krishna in this pastime, when he was a Komara, as we were discussing yesterday evening, Putana came to feed Krishna as a mother, and when Putana came to feed Krishna as a mother, then eventually wanted to poison Krishna and kill Krishna, because she had tremendous envy inculcated through Kamsa, and Krishna sucked her life and liberated her. Putana, when Krishna was an infant, when less than 1 year, he liberated Putana, because Putana came as a mother. And at the Komara stage, less than 15, when he was an infant, Krishna took her life just by, sucking her breasts. Then Trinavrita, when Krishna was 1 year old, he came as a whirlwind, and Krishna became very heavy on him, and he was dead. And then when Krishna was beyond 1 year, a Vakasur came. He came as a stork, and Krishna tore apart the beaks using his hands. Then, in the childhood pastime, when he was looking like a cub, Agasur came. He came as a snake, and Krishna expanded in his throat, and the snake was dead. Then Vatsasur came. Actually, Agashur is actually a brother of Bakasur and Putana. And when he realized that these two personalities were killed by Krishna, Agasur became very angry and he came as a snake, and Krishna expanded in his throat, and his killed. Vatsasur came. He came as a calf, and Krishna twirled using his legs, and Vatsasur was killed. Dhenukasur came. He came like a donkey, and Balram twirled his leg, and Krishna was also around. Pralambasur came. He came as a friend. Krishna hit in his head. Balram hit in his head, and Pralambasur died. Then Kaliya came. He came as a snake to trouble the Vrajvasis. What did Krishna do? He just danced on him, and that took care of all the poison, and it all came out. Then Aristasur came. He came as a bull, and Krishna twirled through his horns. As a Kumara, Krishna did kill Aristasur. Then Kesi demon came. He came as a horse, and Krishna twirled his legs, and Kesi is done. Vyomasur came. He appeared in the sky. Krishna threw him dead. And finally, Kamsa, his uncle, and Krishna wrestled him to death. And if you see all these personalities who were taken care by Krishna and Balram, you will see there is no use of weapon. There is the Sudarshan Chakra, what you see beside Krishna alongside Lord Jagannath on the left, was not made into any use. Krishna didn't use any weapon with any of these personalities when he was in a Kaumara stage. So it's very interesting to recognize Krishna has this Sudarshan Chakra, and it expands into various different forms and shapes, and protects. The Sudarshan Chakra kills. But in any of these personalities, have we ever thought Krishna never used Sudarshan Chakra? It's very interesting that Krishna, in order to kill anybody, he can just wrestle, throw him around, he can expand, and he can. So it's very interesting that Krishna was, and Uddhavji is remembering all these pastimes, that these demons are looked at the eye like a lion cub, and they just get killed. So it's very so it is important to recognize that the Supreme Personality of Godhead doesn't need weapons to take care of all these personalities. And the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, at the same time, through the love of his mother, is afraid of the mother. So it's very difficult to conceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but at the same time, it's very interesting. And by just thinking about these, demonic personalities, see, Pralambasur, Dhenukasur, the ass demon, the Pralambasur who comes as a friend, these demons have left, but these demons are still there around us. Kamsa, who comes as a relative. There are relatives who can be demoniac as well. There are, personalities who comes as mother, they can be demoniac as well. And, there are snakes who trouble all the time. So these personalities have gone, but he has left some traces of them in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And we have to be very careful that when we recognize that there is these demons who are obstructing us in the path of devotional service, we should be able to defend and recognize that anything which is opposing us in our path to our devotional service should be dealt with, because if they're not favorable to us, what good are they? So going back to the interesting discussion around the last topic, and Krishna was life and soul of everyone, including the animals, the cows, and the calves. Nanda Maharaj has 900,000 cows. When Yashodamai saw Krishna after coming from herding, she was very worried about the foot of Krishna. So Yashodamai asked Krishna, Lalla, I have made a shoe for you, so that for you and Balram, so that you don't get itches you don't get cuts on your soft leg, foot, so that they will take care of you. And at the time, Krishna said, Mother, we have 900,000 cows. They have 3.6 million legs. Can you make 3.6 million slippers for them? So that when they go with me, their legs doesn't get cut by how you're thinking about me. Then this exchange between Mother Yashoda and Krishna was heard by the cows. And tears came out of those cows. They went to the place where they gazed, and with their solid foot, they crushed the soil of Vrindavan, and they came back. So it is with sheer love that they went, seeing the care Krishna had for the cows and calves, that he is pleading with the mother to make 3.6 million slippers. They went and crushed the soil of Vrindavan. And still, if you go to those places today, those places, the soil is softer than your nicel powder. It's very soft. You can just roll around. It's so soft, and those soft soil is still there. So everyone loved Krishna. He was the life and soul of everyone, including the animals, the cows and calf, and the exchange of love he had with everybody. People were just remembering him, and whenever these pastimes were done, the kids would see, they would come and tell their parents, and after that there will be this Yogamaya potency, and they will all forget that Krishna is the supreme, and they will just call him as Lalla, and they will just move around with their life of this loving exchanges. So this thinking of him as the supreme, and loving him, and not caring for him, that he is the supreme personality of God, and we have to keep them in awe and reverence, we're going on for quite some time. And this loving exchange, if you remember still today, it gives us that element of happiness, and that Vatsala ras which is exhibited is favorably disposed in our minds, and we do not have time to hanker, or we don't have time to misuse when we have a certain time in our hand. So this is a very, very powerful verse. Once again, Uddhav ji is actually remembering this powerful pastime, that even as a Kaumara, Krishna could unleash and terrorize the demons in a very powerful way. So as we lead on to this long weekend, I just want to suggest that we remember more and more. We remember, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, by remembering and meditating, the sinful tendencies get destroyed. So more and more we remember, all our sinful tendencies will get destroyed, and will be focused on serving the Supreme in this form, which is no less than any other form, and only devotees can understand, and nobody else can. So we have an opportunity in hand. So with this, I'd like to end here. Any comments, corrections? Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.